The relay station should have been dead. It hung in silence on the edge of an unremarkable system, its hull cracked by centuries of micrometeoroid strikes, its power cells long depleted. Yet on this night, for reasons Aziri would never understand, its core flickered back to life. A single pulse stretched into the void, broken, trembling, but carrying words that no alien tongue should have ever uttered. "Earth, please help us." The transmission traveled like a ghost, intercepted by listening posts hidden where no civilization dared to look. On the Ziri colony world of Saluvar, fear gathered in the council chamber. 12 delegates, their slender bodies draped in silk-like veils, stare at the wavering hologram that marked their decision. "We have doomed ourselves," whispered Elder Vela, her voice cracking. "The Karth will see the signal. Their retaliation will be swift. We have invited fire onto our nest." Across the chamber, Governor Sale pressed his forefinger hands flat on the polished stone table. "We had no choice. They are already stripping our fields, conscripting our young. The Dominion does not grant mercy. If we are to die, let it not be in silence. Let the predators come." A shiver ran through the chamber. Even speaking of humanity was dangerous. For generations, Earth was a whispered curse among the stars, a death world whose children were too dangerous to coexist. Some believed them extinct. Others prayed they were. Elder Vela hissed, "Predators cannot be saviors. If they come, they will devour us as surely as the Dominion would." Sale met her gaze. His voice was heavy with finality. Better to die in the jaws of legend than under the lash of tyrants. No one answered. Outside, storm wind swept across the Liver's fields. Above, the faint SOS raced toward an audience far more dangerous than the Dominion. Light years away, deep beneath the icy crust of Europa, the bastion stirred. The hidden citadel of Earth had monitored the galaxy for centuries, silent and unseen. Inside its command chamber, rows of holoscreens lit up as technicians intercepted the SOS. "Confirmed signal," one officer reported, voice steady but eyes wide. "Origin, Saluvar. Encoding matches pre-Dominion relay systems. Contains one forbidden term." The chamber hushed. "Earth," the officer said softly. "They call us by name." At the center table, the council convened. 11 men and women whose families traced unbroken lines back to Earth's last wars leaned forward. The weight of history pressed down with the word none of them had expected to hear in their lifetimes. Commander Elias Rourke stood among them, hands clasped behind his back. Tall, scarred, and disciplined, he carried the presence of a man shaped by too many silent years waiting for this moment. Counselor Adrian Kale broke the silence. "This cannot be coincidence. The Dominion will have traced the signal already. To intervene is to expose our existence." Counselor Marin sneered. "Perhaps that is what the Ziri intend. Lure us into the open. Let the Dominion finish what the galaxy once failed to do." Rourke's jaw tightened. "They are prey, cornered and desperate. They called because no one else would answer. If we ignore them, then perhaps the galaxy was right to fear us." Kale's eyes narrowed. "Our duty is survival. Mercy is a luxury we abandoned centuries ago." Rourke stepped forward, voice low but sharp. "Mercy is what separates us from monsters. The Ziri risked annihilation to speak our name. If we remain silent, we confirm every nightmare they whisper about humanity. I will not let that be our legacy." The chamber stilled. For a long moment, only the hum of deep engines beneath Europa's crust filled the air. Finally, Counselor Kale exhaled. "One ship. Stealth deployment. If you fail, we disavow." Rourke inclined his head. "Understood." Hours later, in the hangar of the strike cruiser Nemesis, preparations were underway. Engineers moved with disciplined speed, securing payloads and cycling stealth systems. Marines checked weapons with ritual precision. Rourke walked among them, silent. He paused at the observation window, where Jupiter's storms churned endlessly. Beyond those clouds, the galaxy stirred with empires that had long forgotten or deliberately buried humanity's shadow. A young lieutenant approached. "Sir, all systems green. Crew is at readiness." Rourke gave a short nod. His voice carried no doubt. Set course for Saluvar. Quiet approach. We observe first. Yes, Commander. The lieutenant hesitated, then added, Sir, do you believe they know what they've done? The Ziri, calling us. Rourke's gaze stayed fixed on Jupiter storms. They know enough. Desperation doesn't ask permission. It only screams for help. The lieutenant shifted uneasily. And if the Dominion's already moving? Rourke turned, his scarred face set in stone. Then we remind the galaxy why it spent centuries pretending Earth never existed. The Nemesis detached from Europa's hidden docks, engines flaring once before vanishing into the black. In its wake, silence reclaimed the bastion. On Saluvar, the Ziri huddled in their shelters, praying their forbidden message would bring salvation instead of annihilation. And far away, Dominion warlords sharpened their blades, already hunting for the source of the forbidden word whisper across the void. Earth had been named. The stars would burn for it. The Nemesis broke into Saluvar's orbit without a ripple, its stealth plating drank in starlight, rendering the cruiser a shadow drifting above the alien world. From the surface, no telescope or sensor could catch its presence. Humanity had perfected the art of watching without being seen. Commander Elias Rourke stood at the bridge viewport, studying the planet below. Saluvar gleamed with oceans tinted green, rolling plains, and silver cities etched along riverbanks. From this height, it looked untouched, almost serene. But reports told a different story. Forced labor, crops seized by Dominion patrols, families torn apart for resettlement. Local comms chatter confirms unrest. Lieutenant Serrano reported from her station. Dominion authority fractured, but their enforcement ships patrol daily. No sign they've detected us yet. Yet, Rourke murmured, they will. He turned, signaled the Ziri leadership. Low band, encrypted. They called us. Time they see who answered. In the governor's chamber on Saluvar, panic flared as the message arrived. Unidentified transmission. It claims to be human. An aide stammered. Governor Sale steadied himself. Put it through. The hollow projector lit. A tall figure appeared, broad-shouldered, dark uniform trimmed in silver, expression unreadable. I am Commander Elias Rourke, representing Earth. The voice said, even and clipped, you sent an SOS. We received it. Gasps rippled through the chamber. Elder Vela shrank back, clutching her veil. They are real, she whispered. The predators live. Rourke's gaze flicked across the council, reading their fear. You need assistance. Speak plainly. Governor Sale forced himself to meet the projection's eyes. The Dominion has stripped us of freedom, of food, of children. When we sent the SOS, we knew it might bring death instead of salvation. Still, we begged, and you came. Vela snapped, voice trembling. If they came, it is not mercy. It is hunger. Rourke's tone hardened. We did not come to conquer. We came because you asked. The chamber fell silent. Aboard the Nemesis, Rourke watched the delegates' faces shift between hope and terror. To them, humans were still half myth, half nightmare. That worked in his favor. Commander, Serrano cut in, her voice urgent. New contacts. Multiple Dominion vessels inbound. Vector puts them on intercept course for Saluvar. Estimate arrival, 36 hours. The words landed like stone. Rourke turned back to the council. Your SOS was heard by more than us. Dominion ships are coming. Sale's composure cracked. Then we are finished. They will burn us to the ground for daring to call your name. Not if we intervene, Rourke said. Elder Vela spat the word like poison. Intervene? With what cost? You hide in shadows because the galaxy fears you. If you reveal yourselves, the Karth will summon their full might. You doom not only us but yourselves. Rourke leaned closer to the projection, voice low, deliberate. If the Dominion seeks to make an example, then let them learn the price of striking at prey who dared call predators. We are not here to debate history. You asked, we answered. Now you must decide if you trust us. The Ziri exchanged uneasy glances. Finally, Sale bowed his head. Do what you must. We are past the point of fear. When the feed cut, the bridge of the Nemesis returned to silence. Outside, Saluvar's clouds rolled peacefully, oblivious to the storm racing toward it. Thoughts? Rourke asked. Serrano exhaled. The Dominion won't send just one fleet. They'll make an example. Crush the colony, scour the system. And us with it if they detect our presence, said Tactical Officer Vance. We should extract, let the Ziri take their fate. Our secrecy matters more than their survival. Rourke's gaze swept across his crew. Every face carried discipline, but he could feel the tension. Soldiers trained to act, held in chains by centuries of caution. They called us, Rourke said quietly. No one else would have. If we abandon them, we prove every alien whisper about humanity true, that we are monsters lurking in the dark. I won't allow that. Vance frowned. So we fight? Outnumbered, deep in Dominion space. Rourke's lips tightened into something that wasn't quite a smile. We don't fight fair. They'll come expecting prey. Let's remind them what hunters look like. On Saluvar, fear spread like infection. The Dominion fleet was already visible in the night sky, pinpricks of light marching across the stars. Citizens huddled in plazas, praying to gods that had never saved them. In the governor's chamber, Sale stood before the balcony, staring upward. Vale approached, her voice sharp with accusation. You've doomed us. Your signal has drawn both predator and overlord. If the humans strike, the Dominion will obliterate us in reprisal. And if the humans flee, we are slaughtered alone. Sale's shoulders sagged. I chose the lesser cruelty. If that damns us, history will judge me. They are not saviors, Vela hissed. They are executioners dressed in different armor. Neither noticed a faint shimmer high above, the hidden shape of the Nemesis drifting silently against the stars, its weapons already armed. In the war room of the cruiser, hollow maps painted the Dominion fleet's advance. 36 hours had shrunk to 32. Serrano traced vectors with her stylus. Scouts confirmed 2 heavy cruisers for escorts. Standard Dominion suppression fleet. Suppression fleet, Rourke repeated, almost to himself. That means they didn't expect resistance. Sir, Vance said, hesitant, we can't hold off a force like that in open battle. Good thing we don't fight in the open, Rourke answered. His eyes swept the display. Every calculation etched into his mind. We choose where they bleed. We choose how. Silence hung for a beat, broken only by the thrum of engines. Rourke turned to his crew. Prepare the strike corvettes. Shadow formation. We let them believe Saluvar is helpless until they're within our jaws. Then we show them the mistake of underestimating prey. The crew straightened, unease replaced by grim purpose. Orders rippled through the ship. From orbit, Saluvar storms rolled endlessly across the surface. To the Ziri, it looked like the planet itself was bracing for war. In the shadows above, humanity prepared to reveal its teeth. High Strategist Varric Carshall stood at the observation deck of his flagship, Dominion's Wrath. The vessel was a behemoth, bristling with weapons and arrogance in equal measure. Beyond the transparisteel, stars stretched in an unbroken sheet of cold light. Somewhere ahead lay Saluvar, the latest colony foolish enough to whisper rebellion. His claws tapped rhythmically against the rail. So the prey dared send an SOS, he muttered. An old signal, one meant for ghosts. An aide bowed low. The Ziri will be crushed, strategist. Their audacity will serve as warning. Varric's throat vibrated with a low growl. Not enough. They spoke the forbidden word. They invoked predators that should never have been remembered. Earth. He tasted the name like venom. I will see the myth buried, this time with no trace left. Far above Saluvar, hidden in the velvet dark, Commander Elias Rourke studied the Dominion fleet as it bled into the system. On the hollow display, crimson markers multiplied. 2 heavy cruisers for escorts, fighter wings. They'll be in orbit within 20 hours, Lieutenant Serrano reported. Rourke folded his arms. They believe they face only a defenseless colony. That belief is our advantage. At his side, Tactical Officer Vance frowned. Sir, if we reveal ourselves too early, they'll call reinforcements. If we wait too long, Saluvar burns. Then we strike the moment they commit, Rourke said. His tone was calm, but his eyes were hard. No half measures. They came expecting prey. Let's disabuse them of that notion. On Saluvar's surface, the Ziri Council gathered again. This time, fear tasted sharper, like copper on the tongue. The Dominion fleet was already visible to the naked eye, a cluster of faint stars moving in formation. Governor Sale addressed the assembly. The humans say they will act. We must trust them. Elder Vela's voice cut across the chamber, sharp with contempt. Trust predators? Look at what we invite. One oppressor replaced with another. Sale slammed his palm against the table. Would you rather sit and wait for the Dominion to take your children again? At least with the humans, we have a chance. The council fell into uneasy silence. Outside, the night sky brightened with approaching war. Hours later, the first test came. A Dominion vanguard ship broke formation, descending ahead of the fleet. A scout meant to intimidate and survey. Target identified. Serrano said, "Single light cruiser, running standard scans. They haven't detected us." Rourke leaned forward. Corvettes 1 and 2 intercept. Silent approach. Remove it from the board. The two human vessels detached from the Nemesis, slipping through the void like shadows. On the Dominion cruiser, alarms flared too late. A single burst of kinetic slugs shredded its sensor array. Another tore through the engine core. The ship convulsed, split, and vanished in silence. The kill took 42 seconds. Back aboard the Nemesis, Vance exhaled. Efficient. Rourke's voice was steady. That was the easy part. They'll notice when their scout doesn't report back. Word of the loss reached Varick's flagship within the hour. His aide stammered to report, "No distress call." Cruiser vanished without trace. Varick's spines bristled. Vanished? Nothing vanishes in my domain. Perhaps an accident? The aide offered weakly. Varick struck him across the jaw, sending him sprawling. Accidents do not whisper Earth's name. He bared his fangs. Something waits in the dark. Something that remembers how to kill. His growl echoed through the command deck. Signal the fleet. Form up. We hunt. Back aboard the Nemesis, the Ziri delegation appeared on a hollow feed, their faces pale with dread. "You attacked them," Elder Vela hissed. "Now they will scour Saluvar. You brought annihilation upon us." Rourke's gaze was unflinching. "They were coming to burn your cities regardless. Now, they know there are consequences." Governor Sale spoke carefully. "Your methods, they are swift, terrifying." Rourke's voice dropped to a near whisper. "Terror is a weapon, Governor. Your enemy wields it without hesitation. The difference is, we wield it for those who cannot defend themselves." The words hung in the air. Even Sale, who had prayed for saviors, felt a chill. In the war room, Serrano displayed new data. The Dominion's formation has tightened. They're suspicious. 20 hours shrinks to 16 before full engagement. Rourke studied the shifting patterns. Every move, every adjustment. He read like a predator watching prey circle too close. Vance leaned in. "Sir, we can't hold them off forever. Once they commit their full force." "We won't let them," Rourke interrupted. "We cut them apart piece by piece. Make them doubt. Make them afraid." Night cloaked Saluvar when the Ziri gathered in their plazas, eyes fixed upward. They saw nothing of the Nemesis drifting unseen above them, but whispers spread, rumors of shadow ships, of invisible guardians who fought like demons. Some prayed to the humans. Others prayed to be spared from them. On the Dominion flagship, Varick stared into the dark. His instinct screamed, though he would never admit it aloud. The prey world had teeth. Something hidden lingered beyond his sight, and it was watching. He bared his fangs, forcing steel into his voice. Broadcast the system. Let them hear it. Let every trembling prey know what awaits. The comms flared alive. His voice carried across the louver and into orbit. "Ziri, your SOS ends here. And so does the myth of Earth. We will scour your world and salt its ashes. Any who dare speak that name again will join you in oblivion." Aboard the Nemesis, the transmission ended. Silence pressed on the bridge until Rourke finally spoke, his voice cold, deliberate. "Then let's turn myth into memory." The Dominion fleet dropped into low orbit with precision. a predator's snarl etched into its formation. Cruisers moved in tight phalanx, escorts scanning every shadow. Weapons shimmered hot, targeting grids sweeping across the lunar surface. On the Nemesis, the war room pulsed with data. Red icons crowded the hollow display, an overwhelming wall of firepower. They're fully committed, Lieutenant Serrano reported. 3 capital ships for destroyers, swarm fighters numbering in the hundreds. They're spreading to encircle the planet. Commander Rourke's jaw set like iron. Good. It means they're not looking over their shoulder. Tactical Officer Vance glanced at him. Sir, once we engage, there's no turning back. There never was. Rourke pointed at the hollow. We take out their command ship. Cut off the head, the body panics. On the Dominion flagship, High Strategist Varric paced the bridge. His spines rattled with anticipation. Signal the fleet. Begin orbital suppression, he barked. Beams lanced downward, carving molten scars into Saluvar's deserts. The ground shuddered. Ziri huddled in shelters, praying as fire streaked the skies. Make them beg, Varric growled. Now, Rourke ordered. The Nemesis decloaked with predatory grace. A ripple of distortion peeled away, revealing its jagged hull bristling with rail cannons and missile pods. At its flanks, human corvettes burst from shadow like wolves breaking cover. Targets locked, Serrano said. Kill the escorts. The first volley screamed across the void. Hypersonic slugs ripped into a Dominion destroyer, slicing through armor as if it were tissue. The ship's midsection ruptured, venting atmosphere and bodies into space. Before alarms finished sounding, 2 more escorts were slagged. Vance's lips twisted into a grim smile. That got their attention. Panic surged across Dominion channels. Unidentified hostile, human vessel detected. On his flagship, Varric's eyes burned. Humans, he spat. The word dripped hatred. Engage all batteries. I want their carcass on display. His cruisers swung to face the Nemesis, engines flaring. Fighter swarms detached like hornets from a hive. The void erupted. Rail slugs, plasma bursts, and missiles carved white scars through the dark. Multiple fighters closing fast. Serrano called. Deploy drones, Rourke snapped. Dozens of autonomous drones streaked outward from the Nemesis, weaving tight kill patterns. Fighters that strayed too close were shredded by tungsten spray or torn apart by micromissiles. But the swarm was endless. Explosions bloomed across the shield perimeter, each impact shaking the ship, shield holding at 82%. Vance shouted over the thunder, then push harder. Rourke's voice was steady, ice against fire. On Saluvar, Ziri citizens stood in plazas, eyes wide as night turned into spectacle. Where moments ago Dominion beams rained fire, now explosions blossomed across the heavens. For the first time, the predators bled. Governor Sale whispered, awed, they fight for us. Elder Vela, trembling, muttered, or they fight because it's what they are. Strategist, the escorts are gone, cried a Dominion officer. Varric slammed his claws against the console. Then bring the wrath of the fleet upon them. Crush that ship, no matter the cost. His cruisers fired in unison. Lances of energy battered the Nemesis, rocking its hull. Console sparked. Smoke stinging the bridge. Shields at 59. Serrano barked. Rourke's eyes never left the tactical feed. Bring us closer. Right down their throat. Vance blinked. Closer? Sir, at this range. They won't expect it. Do it. The Nemesis surged forward, engines burning white-hot. It barreled straight into the heart of the Dominion formation, dodging plasma beams by meters, trading glancing blows that scorched its hull. Arm the spinal railgun, Rourke commanded. The crew obeyed without hesitation. Along the ship's spine, massive coils glowed as they built magnetic charge. Target, their flagship. Varric snarled as a human warship bore down on him. They charge? At us? Arrogant vermin. But arrogance shifted to alarm as the railgun fired. A single tungsten slug, half the size of a fighter craft, screamed across the void at near-light velocity. It struck the Dominion flagship amidships. The impact caved armor inward, rupturing decks in cascading explosions. The The shockwave rattled even nearby cruisers. Flagship heavily damaged. Serrano cried. On Varric's bridge, chaos erupted. Sparks, alarms, officers flung across consoles. Blood smeared the floor as atmosphere vented through ruptures. Varric clawed himself upright. Hatred burning hotter than pain. Return fire. I don't care if we tear ourselves apart. Kill them. The Dominion fleet unleashed everything. Plasma fire raked across the Nemesis. Explosions tore through its hull plating. Crew were thrown from stations. Smoke filled the air. Shield collapse imminent. Vance shouted, "Switch to armor and keep firing." Rourke barked. The Nemesis spat fury in return. Missile pods emptied, tearing into enemy cruisers. Corvettes darted through the melee, striking engines and weapon nodes, gutting larger ships with surgical precision. One Dominion destroyer split clean in half. Another lost power and drifted helplessly, before erupting under drone fire. On Saluvar, the sky burned brighter than day. Children clutched their parents. Ziri cried prayers, and hope, raw and dangerous, spread through their veins. For the first time in memory, the Dominion bled before their eyes. On the bridge of the Nemesis, alarm screamed as another salvo tore through Deck 7. Casualties mounting. Serrano's voice cracked with urgency. Rourke's jaw clenched, but his tone remained steel. "We finished this." One more shot to their flagship. "Railgun charging," Vance confirmed, sweat streaking his face. Varric's officers pleaded. "Strategist, we must withdraw." "Never," Varric roared, blood dripping from his brow. "I will not retreat before prey." But the railgun fired again. The slug punched through what remained of his flagship's core. Light consumed the ship as the reactor imploded, ripping it apart in a sunburst of fire. Shards of twisted metal scattered through space, trailing debris like dying embers. The Dominion fleet faltered. Cruisers wavered. Formations broken. Without command, their discipline crumbled into chaos. Targets retreating. Serrano gasped. "They're pulling back." Rourke leaned forward, eyes locked on the scattering enemy ships. "Pursue," just enough to remind them. Then let them run. Let them carry fear home with them. The crew obeyed, corvettes nipping at retreating ships, drones harrying fleeing fighters. The message was clear. Deathworlders did not merely win. They hunted. Silence settled as the last Dominion ships vanished into jump space. The battlefield was littered with wreckage, bodies, and flame adrift in the void. On the bridge of Nemesis, the crew exhaled in ragged relief. We did it," Serrano whispered. Rourke's gaze remained fixed on the empty stars. "No, we warned them. This was only the beginning." On Saluvar, the Ziri stood under shattered skies. For the first time in generations, their oppressors had fled. Yet fear lingered. For in victory, they had glimpsed humanity's true nature. Predators had answered their call. And predators never stopped at one hunt. The stars still burned with wreckage. Twisted hulls drifted in silence, glowing faintly as embers of battle cooled in the void. Saluvar's night sky, once terror's canvas, now bore witness to Dominion defeat. On the Nemesis, the bridge was cloaked in smoke and exhaustion. Crew slumped at stations, uniforms scorched, faces smeared with ash. Yet no one dared close their eyes. The silence that followed victory carried its own weight. "Status," Commander Rourke said, voice low but steady. Lieutenant Serrano rubbed blood from her temple and scanned the board. Hull breaches contained. Casualty reports still incoming. Shields gone, armor compromised, but we're alive. And them? Rourke's gaze remained on the black void beyond the viewport. Tactical Officer Vance checked the scans. Dominion ships in full retreat. No organized resistance left in system. The words settled heavily, neither triumphant nor comforting. On Saluvar, the Ziri emerged from their shelters. Their world smelled of scorched earth and burned stone, but the sky no longer rained fire. Families gathered in plazas, staring upward at the drifting remains of ships that had once seemed untouchable. Governor Sale stood before a crowd, voice trembling. "You have seen it with your own eyes. The Dominion can bleed. And humanity is why." His people whispered, all tangled with unease. The humans had not simply defended. They had annihilated. The Nemesis medbay overflowed with the wounded. Stretchers lined the corridors, medics working until their hands shook. Rourke moved among them, face impassive, offering neither comfort nor apology. His presence was enough, solid, unyielding. A young ensign, arm in a sling, looked up as he passed. "Sir, we showed them, didn't we?" Rourke stopped. His eyes, cold as steel, met the ensign's. "We showed them we don't run. That's enough for now." The ensign nodded, though fear lingered in his eyes. He had seen what humanity did to win. High above Saluvar, the wreckage of the Dominion flagship spun silently. Fires flickered along its shattered frame. Inside, survivors clawed through wreckage, broken but alive. One officer dragged himself across a sparking console, voice ragged. "They'll come again," he wheezed. High strategist Varric, battered but breathing, pushed aside debris. One eye bled freely, but his spines bristled with defiance. "Yes," he snarled. "And when we do, it will not be to frighten prey. It will be to exterminate predators." In the governor's hall, Rourke stood before Ziri leaders. The chamber still smelled of smoke from earlier bombardment, cracks running across its stone pillars. Governor Sale bowed his head. "You saved us. There are no words enough." Rourke's reply was blunt. "Don't thank us. This was never charity." The council exchanged uneasy glances. Elder Vela, her scales pale with age, leaned forward. "Then why, if not compassion, why spill your blood for ours?" Rourke's expression did not soften. "Because the Dominion touched one of ours. They hurt a human child. That alone sealed their fate." The Ziri were silent. In that moment, they understood. Humanity had not come as saviors. They had come as predators answering a challenge. Later, on the bridge, Serrano spoke quietly. "Sir, the Ziri look at us differently now. Some with hope, some with fear." "Good," Rourke said. "Good." She frowned. He turned to her, eyes unwavering. "Hope makes him stand taller. Fear makes him step carefully. Both serve survival." Serrano swallowed hard, realizing once again the gulf between human logic and the softer instinct of others. In the Dominion's distant core, messages of defeat spread like wildfire. Reports of the battle reached council chambers, where warlords hissed and roared in outrage. "Impossible," one spat. "One human ship against a fleet?" "It happened," another growled. "And if we do not strike back swiftly, the story will spread. The galaxy will believe humans are unstoppable." Varric, patched and scarred, entered the chamber limping but unbowed. His voice thundered. "Believe it, because it is true. These creatures are predators in flesh. If we fail again, the galaxy will not fear us. They will fear them." His claws raked the table. "So we will not fail again. We will bring fleets 10 times stronger. We will drown them in fire until nothing human remains." The chamber erupted with war cries. The die was cast. This was no skirmish. It was war. On Saluvar. Children played among the ruins, chasing each other with shards of Dominion alloy as trophies. They laughed in innocence, unaware of the shadows gathering. Governor Sale watched them, heart-torn. The Dominion had been wounded, yes, but their rage would return multiplied. Humanity's presence had bought time, nothing more. He turned to Rourke, who stood beside him, gazing at the horizon where wreckage glimmered like dying stars. "Will they come back?" Sale asked softly. Rourke's reply was immediate, heavy with certainty. "Yes, and when they do, they'll bring fire enough to burn worlds." Sale's throat tightened. "And will you be here when that happens?" Rourke's eyes remained on the wreckage. "If they come for us again, we won't wait here. We'll take the fire to them." The crew of the Nemesis gathered in the hangar, battered but unbroken. Rourke stood before them, his voice carrying the weight of iron truth. "We bled today, but so did they. Never forget that the Dominion will return, stronger than before. They will seek vengeance. But vengeance is something humanity understands better than any empire." He paused, letting silence sharpen his words. "When they come again, they won't find prey waiting. They'll find predators hunting. The crew roared in answer, not of triumph, but of grim resolve. Far above, the wreckage of battle drifted in silent testimony. The galaxy had witnessed something it could never forget. The Dominion had tried to teach fear. Humanity had taught them terror. And in the shadows of stars, a truth echoed like a warning. Predators had risen. This was only the beginning.